Peace and love to my family watching. You know, this is going to be what I call a freestyle presentation. This presentation was not in the plans, but I have this feeling, family that's watching, I thank you, that it's going to be informative. You black? Are you white? Are you yellow? Are you red? What race do you claim? Do you want to know the origins of the black race? Do you want to know the origins of the white race? Do you want to know the origins of the red and the yellow race? We're going to hear that tonight in real time, real talk. What you're about to hear, some of you for the first time, is esoteric knowledge. Esoteric knowledge, that is the hidden knowledge. So we have heard what history has said about the black man, about the white race, about the yellow race, about the red race. But we are going to get, for some of us, new information. And this information is not to attack one race. This information is not to attack another race. This information is really in hopes to bring us all together, that at certain times, each race had their own reign on this planet. Are you ready? You see the title. It says the origins of the four races. We're talking about the black race, the melanated people. We're talking about the white folks, the Caucasians, that is. We're talking about the Asian family, the yellow people, that is, respectfully. And we're talking about the red man, respectfully, our Indian descent family. Like I said before, this information has been preserved for the initiates, the adepts, the neophytes. But now in the age of Aquarius, that is you. So once again, before I go in on this information that you're about to get, some of you for the first time, is not meant to belittle anybody's race. It's not to put shade on any other race outside of my own. Because really, I'm just a multi-dimensional being that just happened to be in this sleeve, but I wear it proudly. So I thank you for your patience. And once again, a lot of you for the first time are going to hear the origins of the four races. The black folks, the white folks, the yellow folks, and the red folks. Okay, I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to skip a lot of things, but I want to jump right into this. I want you to focus through the whole presentation. Maybe 30 minutes, but it's going to be a roller coaster ride, okay? So are you ready? Family, once again, it is always an honor and pleasure for you to rock with the ordained metaphysical minister, Dr. Corbin. You are now in tune to the greatest university of our time. That's Cosmic Christ University, the home of the esoteric and metaphysical knowledge. Once again, peep the title. This presentation, freestyle as it is called The Origins of the Four Races. Let's get ready to go. In this chapter, family, we shall consider only the terrestrial origins of mankind, according to esoteric tradition, confirmed by contemporary anthropological and ethnological science. The four races which cover the globe at the present time are the offspring of different earths and zones. Let's stop the F there. And family, I'm one of those ministers, I'm one of those folks, one of those teachers and scholars. I have no problem giving you the source of where I get my information from. I think every teacher that drops information on YouTube like this should give you sources. So please, as this video gets more and more serious and in-depth, whether it makes you comfortable or uncomfortable, please, if you leave a comment, if you want to know the source, you let me know and I'll make sure you get that PDF. So let's go back in. I thank you for your patience, family. In this chapter, we shall consider only the terrestrial origins. So if y'all stay with me, we're going to discuss the extraterrestrial and the subterranean as well. But let's focus only today on the terrestrial origins of mankind according to esoteric tradition, Now you know what this university is. All we teach is esoteric, which is the hidden knowledge. Confirmed by contemporary anthropological and ethnological science. Here we go. The four races which cover the globe at the present time are the offspring of different earths. That's with a plural. That means more than one earth. And zones. So we obviously got to be talking about time zones. Let's read that again. I told you it was going to get real. We're only on 5 minutes, family. The four races which cover the globe at the present time are the offspring of different earths and zones. Successive creations, slow elaborations of the earth in travail, the continents emerge from the seas at considerable intervals of time, which the ancient priests of India called interdiluvian cycles. Stretching over thousands of years, each continent gave birth to its own flora and fauna, crowned by a human race of different color. This is a freestyle presentation, but don't you think this is going to be just another presentation. This is the Cosmic Christ University. And I hope you are listening up, because I'm obviously just getting started. As I continue, the information that you're going to get tonight in this video is going to be hard body. It's going to hit you where the good Lord should have split you. But we're in we are in the age of Aquarius. We're in the quantum world. We're passing, a lot of us have already passed the third dimension. All will be revealed to you, family. And if you're still watching at 7 minutes, holy Snapple juice, it's about to get real. And I thank you for your patience and your viewership. I'm just going to read that again, if you don't mind. The four races, we're talking about the black people, we're talking about the white people, the yellow folks respectfully, and our red folks respectfully. The four races which cover the globe at the present time are the offspring of different earths and zones. Successive creation, slow elaborations of the earth in travail. The continents emerge from the seas at considerable intervals of time, which the ancient priests of India called interdiluvian cycles. Stretching over thousands of years, each continent gave birth to its own flora and fauna, crowned by a human race of a different color. At 8 minutes, my question are we mature enough and spiritually mature enough to keep going? It is my obligation. It is my duty to make sure I ask you that question. That's my responsibility, is what I'm saying. Are you ready, as my family, to continue on with the next information? Okay. The southern continent, swallowed up by the last great deluge, which means the flood, was the cradle of the primitive red race, of which the American Indians are merely the remnant, the offspring of the troglodytes. That is spelled Troglodytes. Make sure you do your research on those people, who are the offspring of the troglodytes, who climbed to the summits of the mountains when their continent crumbled to pieces. Africa is the mother of the black race, which the Greeks called Ethiopian. Asia brought forth the yellow race, represented by the Chinese. The latest arrival, family, the white race, came from the forests of Europe between the storms of the Atlantic and the smiling calm of the Mediterranean. All human verities result from the blending combination, degeneracy, pretty much the degeneration or selection of these four great races. Let me read that again respectfully. All human verities result from the blending combination, degeneracy, or selection of these four great races. In formal cycles, In former cycles, red and black reigned successfully in powerful civilizations, which have left traces both in encyclopedian constructions and in architecture of Mexico. The temples of India and Egypt contain a bridge tradition regarding these vanished civilizations. In the present cycle, the white race is the predominating race, and if the probable antiquity of Egypt and India be calculated, its preponderating influence will be found to date back 7 or 8,000 years ago. Let's stop here so we can make sense of what we are hearing here. We are hearing that the red race, of which of American Indians are merely the remnant, the offspring of the troglodytes, Troglodytes. Make sure you write that down. Now, Africa is the mother of the black race, which the Greeks called Ethiopian. Asia brought forth the yellow race, represented by the Chinese. Now, the baby of all those races, the latest arrival, which was the white race, came from the forests of Europe, between the storms of the Atlantic and the smiling calm of the Mediterranean. All human varieties result from the blending, combination, degeneracy, or selection of these four great races. In former cycles, family, red and black reigned successfully in powerful civilizations, which have left traces both in, and this is like cyclonian or cyclopedian constructions, and in the architecture of Mexico. The temples of India and Egypt contain abridged traditions regarding these vanished civilizations. In the present cycle, Tupac had a song said, "White Man's World." Tupac had a song, the late great legend, Tupac Shakur, had a song on the Machiavelli album called "White Man's World." If you listen or study Rudolf Steiner, who was an amazing psychoanalyst and so much more. I think he was more than a psychoanalyst or something. I might be getting mixed with Carl Jung, but the psychoanalyst. But Rudolf Steiner, just like Gerald Massey, are legends with ancient knowledge. Let's just say that. He also made a statement about how this current time we are is predominantly controlled by the white race. This is telling us that each race had their own time when they ruled and they ran stuff. It is now saying that this is the time that we're currently in. Now, this book was written in the early 1900s. So, obviously, we know who was running it at that time. But let's read this again. And I thank you for your patience. Like I said, this is a freestyle presentation, but the information goes really deep. In the present cycle, the white is the predominated race, and if the probable antiquity of Egypt and India be calculated, its preponderating influence would be found to date back 7 or 8,000 years ago. According to the Brahmic tradition, civilization on our earth began 50,000 years ago with the red race over the southern continent, when the whole of Europe and a portion of Asia were still beneath the waves of oceans. These mythologies also spoke of a previous race of giants. In certain caverns of Tibet, there have been found gigantic human bones, the structure of which rather resembles that of the ape than of man. They point to a primitive intermediate human race, one still bordering on an animal condition, which possessed neither articulate language, social organization, nor religion. For these things always sprang into being at once. That is the meaning of the remarkable Bardic triad, which says, three things come into being together: God, light, and freedom, With the first feeble stammerings of speech, society, and the vague notion of divine order come forth. This is the breath of Jehovah in the mouth of Adam, the word, of Hermes, the law, of the first Manu, the fire of Prometheus. A divine thrill passes through the human fauna. The red race, we stated, occupy the southern continent, now sunk beneath the waves, called Atlantis by Plato. And for those who even studied Atlantis, you know that the Olmecs, the Mayans, the Toltecs, all these people were the Atlanteans. This is a known fact. There were other beings before the Atlanteans, like the Lemuria, which were also compared to the melanated race. But you are hearing this once again. A divine thrill passes through the human fauna. The red race, we stated, occupy the southern continent, now sunk beneath the waves, called Atlantis by Plato. According to the Egyptian tradition, a great cataclysm destroyed a portion of it and scattered the remnants. Several Polynesian races, as also the North American Indians and the Aztecs, whom Francisco Pizarro came across in Mexico, are survivors of the ancient red race. The civilization of which, now lost forever, was one of the material splendors and glory. The souls of these poor laggards are weighed down with the incurable melancholy of a dying race, devoid of all hope. After the red, the black race ruled the globe. The superior type must not be sought for in the degenerated Negro, but rather in the Nubian and the, Abyssinian, and that's spelled Abyssinian. And I'm going to slow down a lot because I know we are hearing a lot right now. I know we are hearing a lot, and a lot of people may not agree. A lot of people may agree with this. I don't mind slowing it down. I thank you for your patience, but you're hearing this. We are hearing that the red race, also sometimes known as the brown race, they reigned in the time of Atlantis. This is a well-known fact when you look up the Mayan civilization, the Olmecs. The Olmecs were said to disappear out of nowhere and go back to the cosmos. The Toltecs, who were like rulers of time, they understood time to the next level. Obviously so, because they were from Atlantis. So I'm going to read that again slowly. I thank you for your patience. The red race, we stated, occupy the southern continent, now sunk beneath the waves, called Atlantis by Plato. According to the Egyptian tradition, a great cataclysm destroyed a portion of it and scattered the remnants. Several Polynesian races, as also the North American Indians and the Aztecs, whom Francisco Pizarro came across in Mexico, are survivors of the ancient red race. The civilization of which, now lost forever, was one of the material splendors and glory. The souls of these poor laggards are weighed down with the incurable melancholy of a dying race devoid of all hope. Wow, that's saying a lot. After the red, the black race ruled the globe. The superior type must not be sought for in the degenerate Negro, but rather in the Nubian and the Abyssinian, spelled Abyssinian, in whom is preserved the mode of the race. On reaching its higher point in civilization, in prehistoric times, the blacks invaded the south of Europe. They were repulsed by the whites, and the memory of them has been completely obliterated from our popular traditions. All the same, they have left therein two ineffaceable traces: a horror of the dragon, the emblem of their kings, and the idea that the devil is black. We never heard anybody go in on the white race like this before. And once again, this is no attack on nobody's races, but we are hearing the races almost in a chronological order. We are hearing the attributes of the races. I want to take my time and make sure that you are hearing this. And once again, if you want to get this book, please don't hesitate to ask for the book. After the red race, the black race ruled the globe. The superior type must not be sought for in the degenerate Negro, it says, but rather in the Nubian and the Abyssinian, in whom is preserved the mold of the race on reaching its highest point in civilization. In prehistoric times, family, it says the black race invaded the south of Europe. They must be talking about the Moors. What you think? In prehistoric times, the blacks invaded the south of Europe. They were repulsed by the whites, and the memory of them has been completely obliterated. It must be talking about the Moors, right? Hit the heart button or hit the like button. What you think? Who are they talking about? But listen to this. In prehistoric times, the blacks invaded the south of Europe. They were repulsed by the whites, and the memory of them has been completely obliterated from our popular traditions. All the same, they have left therein two ineffaceable traces: a horror of the dragon, the emblem of their kings, and the idea that the devil is black. The blacks returned the insult by making their devil white. During the Sarati, the blacks had religious centers in Upper Egypt and in India. Their Cyclopean towns rose tier upon tier on the mountains of Africa, the Caucasus, and Central Asia. Their social organizations consisted of absolute theocracy. Above were the priests, dreaded as though they were gods. Below were crawling tribes without any recognized family. While the women were slaves, these priests had a fund of profound knowledge. They were acquainted with the principle of the divine unity of the universe and the cult of the stars, which under the name of Sabinism gradually spread amongst the white people. Still, between the science of the black priest and the rude fetishisms of the masses, there were no intermediary, no idealistic art or suggestive mythology. Industry, however, had already reached an advanced stage, especially the art of dealing with huge masses of stone by means of the ballista, and that of casting metal in immense furnaces at which task prisoners of war were forced to labor. Consequently, to this race, so physically powerful, possessed of passionate energy, and a strong capacity for application, religion was indeed the reign of might by terror. Indeed, it says, religion was indeed the reign of might by terror. Nature and God scarcely appeared to the consciousness of these young races in any other form than that of the dragon, that terrible antediluvian animal which the kings caused to be painted on their banners and the priests carved on the doors of the temples. If the African sun brought forth the black race, the ice of the Arctic pole may be said to have witnessed the birth of the white race. These were the Hyperboreans spoken of in Greek mythology. Family, I hope I'm taking my time enough and I'm slowing this down enough so you can understand. This book is at least in the 1900s, and it's given information that some of the greatest scholars dared to give us. The last time I heard the word Hyperborean was mixed with the Lemurians on the 7 root races. That whole thing we just read was talking about the black race. And then it says, if the African sun brought forth the black race, the ice of the Arctic pole may be said to have witnessed the birth of the white race. These were the Hyperboreans spoken of in the Greek mythology. Tawny-haired, blue-eyed men came from the north across forest, illumined by the lights of the aurora borealis. And wasn't that the lights that we seen, family? I see them on TikTok. I think it was like some green lights, the Aurora Borealis, and I may be pronouncing it wrong, but let's keep on going. And accompanied by dogs and reindeers. So now, we used to, and these are all, like I said, let's make some light humor out of this. Let's make some light humor out of this presentation. You know how they say white folks love their animals and love their dogs? This may be why. I mean, we all love our pets, don't get it wrong, but, there used to be this comedy relief when it comes to white people about, man, don't play around. White folks don't play around about their animals, their dogs and stuff, but maybe this is why. Maybe this is why. And let's read this again. If the African sun brought forth the black race, the ice of the Arctic pole may be said to have witnessed the birth of the white race. These were the Hyperboreans spoken of in Greek mythology. Tawny-haired, blue-eyed men came from the north across forest, illumined by the light of the Aurora Borealis, and accompanied by dogs and reindeer. Man, North Pole, reindeer, Santa Claus. Wow. It all makes sense. They were commanded by bold chieftains and urged forward by female seers. Talking about the white race. And if you go to Atlanta, if you go to the story of Atlantis, Atlantis talks about this white goddess. And when you're talking about Hitler esotericism and the Aryans and all this, they also talk about this white goddess. So let's keep on reading. They were commanded by bold chieftains and urged forward by female seers. Golden locks and azure eyes, such were the predestined colors. White folks had golden locks back in the day. White folks had golden locks back in the day. So don't be tripping on our white brother that be having the locks, because y'all had that back in the day too. We had it and y'all had it too. Damn, this is information. I hope that I'm taking my time enough for y'all to break this down. This is exciting news, and sometimes I get excited and I may read or may mispronounce a word, but I thank y'all for your patience. And that's why, once again, you can ask for the book and you can study this for yourself. And there's more to this book than just this part, but we are talking to the initiates now. You have graduated to this knowledge now. So we got golden lock, white folks, golden locks, blue eyes. Such were the predestined colors. This race, talking about the white race, this race is to invent the worship of the sun and of sacred fire and bring into the world a longing for the heaven life. Well, it says if the African sun brought forth the black race, so if the white race, this race is to invent the worship of the sun. What sun are we talking about? And of sacred fire and bring into the world a longing for the heaven life. At times it will revolt against heaven and desire to scale its heights. Then again it will bow down before its glory in utter adoration. There's a lot of questions I can ask with this statement, but I guess y'all know where I'm going with it. A lot of people say white people hate blacks and Lord knows that's what it seems like. But what if at the end of the day, white folks know that their image, their God is of a melanated source? And as though it may hurt them to give worship and praise to the son of these people, it's still in their DNA to bow down and give thanks. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, and if I am, it is what it is. But, let's keep reading. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. At times, it will revolt against heaven and desire to scale its heights. We're talking about the white race. Then again, it will bow down before its glory in utter adoration. Like the others, the white race had to shake itself free from its savage condition before attaining to self-consciousness. Its distinctive signs are fondness for individual liberty, that reflective sensitiveness which creates the power of sympathy, and the predominance of the intellect giving an idealistic and symbolical turn to the imagination. Animal sensibility brought about attachment. Animal sensibility brought about attachment. The preference of one man for one woman. Hence the tendency of this race towards monogamy. The conjugal principle in family life. Animal sensibility makes sense now. And when you talk about Africa and places like Africa, it was more talked about of polygamy. But it's saying that the concept of monogamy was really established by the white race, which makes sense when we talk about the nuclear family, which really was created, if you ask me, without even asking me, by the white race. Once again, these are all things to think about. This is not me giving you direct answers. This is a freestyle presentation, a emergency presentation. I just wanted to see your thoughts about it. That's it. The craving for liberty allied to that for sociability created the clan with its elected principle. The imagination of the idea began the worship of ancestors, which forms the root and center of religion in all white nations. The social and political principle shows itself when a certain number of men, still half savage, pressed by a hostile tribe, meet together instinctively and choose the strongest and most intelligent to defend and rule them. When this happens, society comes into existence. Let's read that again. The social and political principle shows itself when a certain number of men, still half savage, pressed by a hostile tribe, meet together extensively and choose the strongest and most intelligent to defend and rule them. When this happens, society comes into existence. The chief is a future king, his companions the nobles at his court, the old men thoughtful and reflecting and capable of marching to battle form a kind of senate or assembly of elders. But how is religion born? This is said to have originated in the fear of primitive man before the powers of nature. If you actually listen to what the minister is saying, we get some real breakdown on some real historical stuff, and it's explaining a lot. It's explaining a whole lot if we listen. The chief is the future king. His companions, the nobles at his court, the old men, thoughtful and reflecting and capable of marching to battle, form a kind of senate or assembly of elders. But how is religion born? This is said to have originated in the fear of the primitive man, and we know who the primitive man is, or were. This is said to have originated in the fear of primitive man before the powers of nature. Fear, however, has nothing in common with respect and love. Fear, however, has nothing in common with respect and love. It does not connect the fact with the idea, the visible with the invisible, man with God. So long as man did nothing but tremble before nature, he was not yet really a man. This he became when he sees the bond uniting him to past and the future, to something superior and beneficent. When he worshipped that mysterious unknown being, but how did he worship for the first time? This author named Fabry de Olivet, Olivet, gives us an inspired and suggestive hypothesis as to the way in which ancestral worship must have been established in the white race. Two rival warriors of a bellicose clan are quarreling. In mad fury, they spring upon each other. At the moment, a woman, sister of the one and the wife of the other, with dishevelled locks, spring forward and separate them. With flashing eyes and commanding accents, she exclaims in painting utterance that she has seen the ancestor of the race, the conquering warrior of bygone days, appear to her in the forest. He will not have it that two warrior brothers should fight, but rather that they should unite against a common foe. If we stop and listen to the minister, we are hearing the origins of how the white race stopped becoming savages and beefing with each other, and through the females within their tribe and the visions that the females were having, said, hold up, stop fighting against each other. I had a dream that we should be fighting these other races. And this is what we're hearing here. There's an author, an ancient author named Fabre, Fabre, D-Olivet. He gives an inspired and suggestive hypotheses as to the way in which ancestral worship must have been established in the white race. Listen to this. Two rival warriors of a bellicose clan are quarreling. In mad fury, they spring upon each other. At that moment, a woman, sister of the one and wife of the other, with disheveled locks, spring forward and separate them. With flashing eyes and commanding accents, she exclaims in painting utterance that she has seen the ancestor of the race, the conquering warrior of bygone days, appear to her in the forest. He will not have it that two warrior brothers should fight, but rather that they should unite against a common foe. And I quote, "It was the ghost of the great ancestor who spoke to me," she says, exclaims the inspired woman. "I saw him," I quote, end quote. What she says she believes. Convince herself, she convinces others. This makes me think of some Emmett Till type of stuff, but let's keep on going. In utter astonishment, and as though overwhelmed by some invincible force, the two opponents become reconciled and look upon the woman as a kind of divinity. Such inspirations, followed by sudden revulsions of feeling, must have taken place frequently and in diverse forms in the prehistoric life of the white race. In barbarian races, it is the woman who, by reasons of her nervous sensibility, is the first to have a presentiment of the occult, to affirm the invisible. Now let us consider for a moment the unexpected, the prodigious consequences of an event such as the one just mentioned. In the clan and throughout the tribe, everyone speaks of the marvelous thing. The oak beneath which the inspired woman has seen the apparition becomes a sacred tree. She is taken back to it, and there beneath the magnetic influence of the moon, which plunges her into a visionary condition, she continues to prophesy in the name of the great ancestor. Before long, this woman and others like her, standing on the rocks in the midst of the glades beneath the murmur of the breeze and of the distant ocean, will evoke the phantom souls of the ancestors to appear before the people, all trembling with emotion, and the latter will see or believe that they seen them, attracted by magic incantations in the floating haze with its lunar transparencies. The last of the great Celts, Oceans, evokes Fingal and his companions in the gathering clouds. Thus, at the very outset of social life, ancestral worship is established in the white race. The great ancestor becomes the god of the tribe. This is the beginning of religion, but it is not all. Round the prophetess, groups of old men form themselves. They keep watch over her in the lucid slumber and prophetic ecstasy. They study her different states of mind, verify her revelations, and interpret her oracles. They notice that when she prophesies in visionary state, her face becomes transfigured, her words are rhythmic, and the high-toned voice utters her oracles as she chants to a solemn melopia, all pregnant with meaning. Hence arose verse and strophe, poetry and music, whose origin is regarded as divine by all nations of the Aryan race. The idea of revelation could only be produced from facts of this kind. We see springing into being religion and worship, priest and poetry at one and the same time. In Asia, especially in Persia and India, where people of the white race founded the first Aryan civilization. Now, I'm about to stop here soon, whatnot. We can definitely do a chapter 2. You let me know how you loving this so far. When we hear about the Great White Brotherhood, and at this time, unfortunately, I'm not talking about the spiritual White Great Brotherhood. I'm talking about the Nazis and the KKK, the Klan. This is where they get the Aryan talk from. When they talk about the Aryan, the great race, that's because they dug deep into their history and they found out that they have a connection with the Asians. Like whites and Asians are like cousins. So when they talk about the Aryans, we're talking about Persia and India. And the white race can trace themselves back to there. But let's read this again and we'll probably stop at 50. We'll probably stop at 50. Y'all let me know what you think of this presentation. In Asia, especially in Persia and in India, where people of the white race founded the first Aryan civilization by intermarrying with nations of a different color, men rapidly gained the ascendancy over women in the matter of religious inspiration. There were no longer here mentions of any except sages, rishis, and prophets. The woman subjected and kept in the background is no longer priestess except at the hearth. In Europe, however, traces of the preponderating role of women are found in peoples of the same origin who have remained barbarians for thousands of years. It breaks out in the Pythoness sands of years. It breaks out in the Pathonius of Scandinavia, in the Volva of Sibyl, of the Edda, in the Celtic Druidists, in the female soothsayers who accompanied the Germanic armies and decided the day on which battle was to be waged. And even in the Thracian Bacchanes, the prehistoric seerist is found again in the Pathonius of Delphi. And what you're hearing right now is that nothing moved without the vision of the oracles or the sibyls. I've done a video on the sibyls not too long ago. But these men listen to the advice of these sages, of these priestess, these prophetess, these oracles, these sibyls. They didn't move until they got the vision from these sisters. And let's finish here. And I thank y'all for your patience. I know sometimes between it I chop some words up or whatnot, but we'll get it right on chapter 2. But I thank you for your patience so much. The primitive prophetess of the white race were organized into colleges of Druids under the supervision of learned old men, or Druids, the men of the oak. At first, they were of great service and utility by means of their intuition, their enthusiasm, and their power of divinity. They gave a mighty impulse to the race, which had only come to the beginning of its struggles with the blacks. My gosh. A struggle destined to last several centuries. White people, we still go. Black people, we still going through it with white people. White people, you still going through it with melanated people. And this has been going on since the days of this. We can trace this back now. We can trace this back more than Darwinism or any other scholar has ever did. So I hope I got a chance to reach a few people with this presentation, and I'm gonna hit something on TikTok so it'll get your attention as well. But this is news. This is amazing. For the black race, for the white race, for the Asian race and red race, we're gonna get to you guys a little bit more respectfully. But you'll hear some information that some of you never even heard before. The primitive prophetess, the primitive prophetess of the white race were organized into colleges of Druids under the supervision of learned old men, or Druids, the men of the oak. At first, they were of great service and utility by means of their intuition, their enthusiasm, and power of divinity. They gave a mighty impulse to the race, to the white race, which had only come to the beginning, only came to the beginning of a struggle with the black race, a struggle destined to last several centuries. You can't tell me black and white race, we can't get it together? The rapid corruption of this institution, however, and the terrible abuse arising out of it were inevitable. Feeling themselves mistress of the destinies of the nations, the Druidists were determined at all costs to dominate them. Inspiration failing them, they endeavored to rule by terror, exacting human sacrifices which they made the essential element of their cult. In this they were favored by the heroic instincts of the race. The whites were not lacking in courage. Their warriors despised death at the very first appeal, came along of their own accord and in a spirit of bravado to cast themselves down beneath the knife of the bloodthirsty priestess. In human hecatombs, the living were dispatched as messengers to the dead, and in this way it was believed the favors of the ancestors would be attained. And I think I'm gonna stop there. Let's stop there. What y'all think? What y'all think? Y'all like it so far? Somebody said it want a little bit more. Somebody said you said 50 minutes. All right, got you. 50 minutes it is. Such is the perversion which the noblest instincts of human nature must submit to, unless they are mastered by a wise authority directed towards good by a higher consciousness. When abandoned to the hazard of ambition and personal passion, inspiration degenerates into superstition, courage into ferocity, the sublime idea of sacrifice into an instrument of tyranny, a treacherous, cruel exploitation. This is what the white race went through. They went as being savages, fighting each other. Then they let their sisterhood give them visions of, you know what, let's stop beefing with us and start beefing with the other races. They went so far and they got so much power that they start over-abusing their powers, and they got kind of nasty for them. So once again, such is the perversion which the noblest instincts of human nature must submit to, unless they are mastered by a wise authority, directed towards good by a higher consciousness. When abandoned to the hazard of ambition and personal passion, inspiration degenerates into superstition, courage into ferocity, the sublime idea of sacrifice into an instrument of tyranny, a treacherous, cruel exploitation. The white race, however, was only in its infancy, though a violent and foolish one. I don't think no book I ever read have even went this hard on the white race. And once again, this is not about attacking any race at all. This is getting to the origins of it all. See why people are saying this is a white man's world. See why it seems like the black race and every other race is kind of getting the short end of the stick. We are a unified consciousness, but in order to get to the spirituality where Christ's consciousness can be indwelled and activated with every color, we have to get together and address these situations. And that's what the minister is here to do with you guys. So I thank you for your patience. And now I got to go over a little bit over 50 minutes because I want to read this again. The white race, however, was only in its infancy. They were just babies. Remember, they were the last race out of all the races. Though a violent and foolish one they were, the author says. It had other and more sanguinary crises to pass through. Now it was roused by the attacks of the black race, which was beginning to invade it in the south of Europe. Unequal was the struggle at the outset for the whites, half savage, issuing from their forests and lakesides, dwelling, had no other resources than the spears, their bows, and stone-pointed arrows. The blacks had iron weapons, brass armor, the entire resources of an ingenious civilization, and their cyclopean cities. Defeated from the very outset, the whites carried away into captivity were at first made slaves to the blacks. Whoa! And you hear people talk about this more and more now. We're talking about blacks being enslaved to whites, but it was first the whites being slaves to the blacks. How about those apples? Defeated from the very outset, the whites carried away into captivity were at first made slaves to the blacks, who forced them to break stones and carry mineral ore to their ovens. All the same, escaped captives brought back into their own land the customs and arts and fragments of the science of their conquerors. So even though they were slaves to the blacks, and for the ones that escaped, they still brought back the information, the science, and the knowledge from the people that conquered them. Do you understand how powerful that is? Because remember, it's saying that they didn't have no resources. All they had was spears. We're talking about the white race. So when they were made slaves by the black race, and for the ones who escaped, they brought back the science, the arts, and all that from their conquerors. Wow. Wow. From the blacks, they learned two important things. Wow. Y'all better stop playing with me and let me know what you think of this video. From the blacks, they learned two important things: the casting of metals and sacred writing, i.e., the art of fixing certain ideas by means of mysterious and hieroglyphic signs on the skins of beasts, stones, or the bark of the ash. Thus were discovered the ruins of the Celts. I'm done. I see y'all next video. Cosmic Christ University. We are here now.